Welcome back, Fan-Fueled family. Today, we're finishing up our Examining Characters series with the villain of Final Fantasy VII and one of the most iconic villains in fictional history, the one and only Sephiroth. Because we'll be talking in depth about the primary antagonist of the game, a spoiler warning is in effect for the majority of this video, but I'll put up an actual notice before I get into the really deep spoilers. Now, you know him, you love him, Sephiroth.
The life stream. That's what we call the river of life that circles our planet, giving life to the world and everything in it. The Shinra Electric Power Company discovered a way to use the life stream as an energy source. Because of Shinra's energy, we were able to live very comfortable lives. But wasn't that because we were taking away from the planet's life? A lot of people thought so. Shinra used their power to try and stop anybody who got in their way. Shinra had a special group of warriors called Soldier, and all of the soldiers had Genova cells put inside them. Genova was a calamity that fell from the sky a long, long time ago and tried to destroy the planet. Anyway, there was one soldier named Sephiroth who was better than the rest. But when he found out about the terrible experiments that made him, he began to hate Shinra. And then, over time, he began to hate everything. Shinra and the people against them. Sephiroth, who hated the planet so much, he wanted to make it go away. And the people who tried to stop him. There were a lot of battles. For every battle, there was more sadness. Someone I love went back to the life stream too. And then, it came. The chosen day. In the end, the planet itself had to make the battles stop for good. The planet used the life stream as a weapon. And when it burst out of the earth, all the fighting, all the greed and sadness, everything was washed away. Sadness was the price to see it end.
Sephiroth, like most of Final Fantasy VII's characters, is immediately recognizable. He's tall, over 6 feet in height, and wears black leather armor with white pauldrons. He has long silver hair that flows down past his waist, and vivid glowing greenish cyan eyes with cat-like slits for pupils. Sephiroth is so ubiquitous in the cultural zeitgeist that almost everyone knows who he is. Heck, my mom knows who Sephiroth is. His voice, in every depiction of the character, is a low, suave bass, and he rarely, if ever, raises his voice or gets angry. He's almost always calm and in control.
Good to see you, Cloud.
Sephiroth's weapon is every bit as iconic as he himself is. The Masamune is an enormous Nodachi around 7 feet long, and in the original game, Cloud claims that only Sephiroth can wield it. While most reasonable people would wield a blade that big with both hands, Sephiroth effortlessly swings it around one-handed, slicing through his foes like a scythe threshing a wheat field. The sword gets its name from Goro Masamune, who is widely considered the greatest swordsmith in Japan's history. Sephiroth is, or rather was, employed by the Shinra Electric Power Company, specifically as part of their special military division, Soldier. Sephiroth was one of the very few to attain the highest rank, Soldier First Class. He served as a role model for many young men at the time who set out to join Soldier and become the best of the best like Sephiroth, the hero of the game Cloud Strife included. Most stories about legendary figures tend to hyperbolize and exaggerate their feats and abilities, but Sephiroth is different. He's more powerful than the stories about him suggest. Cloud even says, Sephiroth's strength is incredible. He's far stronger in reality than any stories you may have heard about him. We really see this insane level of power in the game Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which takes place before the events of the original game and before Sephiroth became the villain he is known as. During a training session with fellow Soldier First Class members Angeal and Genesis, Sephiroth doesn't even seem to be putting in any real effort as he spars with his fellows.
Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus, and take to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest.
Loveless, Act 1.
You remembered.
How can I not, when you've beaten it into my head?
Don't take Sephiroth lightly. Noted.
Is that the best you can do?
All hail Sephiroth, huh?
Angeal, stay back. I'll take Sephiroth alone.
Genesis?
The world needs a new hero.
Come and try.
So smug. But for how long?
Stop! You'll destroy us all.
That's no way to talk to a hero!
Enough!
Angeal.
Out of my way!
Genesis!
Just a scrape. I'll be fine. Don't worry. Even if the morrow is barren of promises, nothing shall forestall my return.
He easily holds his own against two of the most powerful warriors in the world, and when he really starts trying, Genesis can barely keep up. Sephiroth's attacks are so powerful that even simple slashes create energy waves that slice through metal and concrete meters away. Sephiroth is not just incredibly physically strong and absurdly skilled with his sword, he's also fast, has incredible reflexes, and is fearsome with magic. During the flashback where Cloud tells the team about his history with Sephiroth, we get a glimpse at Sephiroth's materia arsenal, which includes many powerful spells that he casts without even depleting his MP reserves. Okay, this is where I'm going to put up a proper spoiler warning, as I'm about to talk about Sephiroth's history and what shaped him into the most dangerous being the planet has ever seen. Skip to the timestamp on screen now to avoid the spoilers. Sephiroth was, for all intents and purposes, a science experiment. While he was still in the womb, he was injected with the cells of Jenova, an ancient being that Shinra's researchers had found suspended in the massive northern crater, and whom they mistakenly believed to be a Cetra, the species of wanderers that developed into modern humans. There had been other experiments with Jenova's cells before, of course. Genesis and Angeal were both exposed to Jenova's cells, for example, but in less direct ways, while Sephiroth was directly injected with Jenova cells while a fetus. Because of this more direct exposure to Jenova, undiluted by human DNA, Sephiroth was far more powerful. Sephiroth, from a very young age, was trained by Professor Hojo, a Shinra scientist, head of the Jenova project, and, unbeknownst to Sephiroth, his father. Hojo instilled in Sephiroth the belief that a soldier must be strong in body, mind, and heart, and a hardened heart that was devoid of emotion and showed no mercy was a sign of great strength. Hojo subjected the child Sephiroth to physical pain, demanding that he endure the pain to uncover the depths of his strength. Despite this, all Sephiroth wanted was to find his mother and live a normal life. Through war and battle, however, Sephiroth was shaped into the fearsome, unparalleled warrior he would become. Sephiroth, through his actions in the war against Wutai, quickly became known as a war hero throughout the entire world and was the poster child for the soldier program. His mere presence on the battlefield was a sure sign of victory. Once the war ended, Soldier was tasked with putting down any last pockets of rebellion and any monster attacks. On one such mission to Shinra's Mako reactor near Nibelheim, Sephiroth and fellow Soldier First Class Zack Fair were assigned to find the source of dangerous monsters in the area and to put a stop to it. While there, Sephiroth discovered his origins, that he wasn't so much chosen to be a soldier but created to be one. After seeing that it was the reactor itself that was producing monsters, and the name of his mother Jenova on a sealed door within, Sephiroth withdrew to the largest building in Nibelheim, the Shinra Manor. In the manor's basement, Sephiroth found countless journals detailing the Jenova project, and for days he read as though possessed, without even stopping to eat or sleep. When Zack checked in on him, Sephiroth told him that humanity were traitors to the ancients, then simply told Zack that he was going to see his mother. Sephiroth burned Nibelheim to the ground and slaughtered the townspeople, with only a very few survivors, then made his way to the reactor where he opened the sealed door to see Jenova herself. When Zack demanded to know what Sephiroth was doing, Sephiroth simply said that he had been tasked with taking the planet back from humanity for Jenova. Zack attacked Sephiroth, but the battle was over in seconds, with Zack grievously wounded. Zack's friend, a young Cloud Strife that had not in fact made it into Soldier, took up Zack's Buster Sword and ran Sephiroth through with it, and as Sephiroth limped away, Cloud attacked him again. Sephiroth impaled Cloud on the Masamune, only for Cloud to grab the blade and throw Sephiroth into the life stream below. Sephiroth was believed dead. Over the next several years, Sephiroth traveled the life stream and pieces of his broken body gathered at the northern crater, joining together to recreate his body inside a cocoon of pure Mako. And from there, he controlled the bodies of those injected with Jenova's cells, such as all former soldiers, moving them around like puppets and using them as his instruments to enact his return. This concept, the idea that Jenova was so immensely powerful that her body would pull itself back together even over great distances, was the Jenova reunion theory. Even on a cellular level, Jenova wanted to be whole and subconsciously influenced anyone with Jenova's cells, like members of the soldier program, to gather at the northern cave. Sephiroth subverted this, however, his powerful will overwhelming that of Jenova, allowing him to manipulate her, and anyone with Jenova cells, for the intention of acquiring his true objective. Sephiroth, of course, had still not recovered enough to act freely, so he manipulated parts of Jenova to appear in his image with his voice. This is referred to as the Sephiroth Jenova in the 10th Anniversary Official Sourcebook, and he used these to enact his will. As the Sephiroth Jenova, he killed President Shinra and tracked Cloud across the world. Their first real encounter was on the cargo ship from Junon to Costa del Sol, where Sephiroth seemed to have no recollection of Cloud, perhaps due to the muddled memories of Jenova and Sephiroth. On the cargo ship, Sephiroth left behind the arm of Jenova, which swelled to become Jenova Birth, which the party fought and destroyed. Their next meeting was in the basement of the Shinra mansion in Nibelheim, where Sephiroth Jenova told Cloud of the Jenova reunion and instructed Cloud to follow it. In the Temple of the Ancients, Sephiroth truly seemed to have his own mind once again and told Cloud his plan. Use the powerful black materia to summon Meteor, a magical planetoid that had the potential to destroy entire planets. When the planet is damaged, it pulls from the life stream to heal its wounds. The more damage, the more spirit energy is gathered. In using Meteor, Sephiroth intended to create an enormous wound, a wound that would threaten the life of the planet, and then absorb the energy that gathered, effectively becoming a god. Sephiroth manipulated Cloud with the Jenova cells in his body, forcing him to give Sephiroth the black materia. When Cloud realized what he had done, he lashed out in confusion and anger, tasting the madness of Sephiroth, and he struck Aerith, only to be incapacitated by the other team member with them. While Cloud was unconscious, Aerith spoke with him on the metaphysical plane, telling Cloud that as a Cetra, she was the only one that could stop Sephiroth, and that to do so she would go to the Forgotten Capital, the city of the ancients, and that Cloud shouldn't worry, she'd take care of everything. Sephiroth, who, with his bond with Cloud's subconscious through Cloud's connection to Jenova, identified Aerith as a threat, telling Cloud that she could be a danger to his plan. Knowing that Sephiroth was on his way to Aerith, Cloud and the party headed to the Forgotten Capital in a desperate race against time. When they arrived, all seemed quiet, until late that night Cloud awoke, feeling that Aerith was present, and so was Sephiroth. Cloud headed down into the heart of the city of the ancients, where he found Aerith praying to summon Holy, the white materia, the only thing that could stop the black materia. Sephiroth attempted to once more manipulate Cloud into attacking Aerith, but it failed, leading to Sephiroth taking things into his own hands in one of the most famous moments in video game history. After killing Aerith, Sephiroth deployed Jenova Life to fight the party, then informed Cloud that he was going to head north and that Cloud should follow. In pursuit of Sephiroth, the party headed north into the Whirlwind Maze, where Sephiroth, almost whole, declared that the Sephiroth Jenova body had reached the end of its usefulness and disposed of it by using it to fight Cloud as Jenova Death. Upon the creature's defeat, the party reacquired the black materia, and Cloud gave it to one of his allies for safekeeping while he pushed onward. Deep in the whirlwind maze, Sephiroth used his illusions to manipulate Cloud into believing that he wasn't really a person, just a puppet for Jenova, while also manipulating the party to hand the black materia back over to Cloud, who then gave it to Sephiroth, pushing it directly into the Mako cocoon. The influx of power caused the entire area to collapse, dropping Sephiroth deeper into the crater. The threat of Sephiroth with the black materia woke the weapons, a group of ancient and extremely powerful creatures created by the planet itself to defend against potential threats. Sapphire, Diamond, Ruby, Emerald, and Ultimate Weapon blasted out of the crater to various locations around the world, preparing for the worst. Sephiroth erected a barrier of pure energy around the crater to prevent further interference. Cloud, with the help of Tifa, recovered his true memories, which forced out the illusions that Sephiroth had planted, and the group headed into the northern crater to put an end to Sephiroth. In a long, grueling battle, the party finally defeated Sephiroth. Cloud stated that they had done all they could, and the fate of the world was now in the hands of the planet itself and Holy, which could finally act now that Sephiroth's dark will was not holding it back. Sephiroth, however, refused to let go and pulled Cloud into a final, one-on-one battle on the metaphysical plane, and when Cloud finally destroyed Sephiroth, his dark influence ended. Meteor was still present, however, and Holy was doing more harm than good, until Aerith, in one final act of selflessness from beyond the grave, wielded the Lifestream itself to destroy Meteor. The world was safe. Except it wasn't. Sephiroth, as powerful as he was, found a way to persist, focusing his entire self on his hatred for Cloud, which allowed him to keep his consciousness distinct from all the other beings in the Lifestream. When the Lifestream erupted to block Meteor, he tainted it with his memories, infecting the planet with geostigma, remnants of Sephiroth's genes and his hatred for all things. Geostigma, also known as Jenova's mimetic legacy, manifested as black marks on the body that occasionally oozed black ichor. The body fought against it, but to no avail, and the immune system overcompensated, leading to weakness and sometimes hallucinations and seizures. Geostigma had no cure and was invariably fatal. By the time of the Advent Children movie, 2 years after Sephiroth's defeat in the Northern Crater, geostigma had spread around the world. In an effort to return from beyond death, Sephiroth created a trio of young men called the Remnants of Sephiroth, each representing a piece of Sephiroth himself. Kadaj was an embodiment of Sephiroth's cruelty and madness and seemed to be the leader of the three. Laz was the embodiment of Sephiroth's physical strength and emotional instability, regarding Jenova as their mother, and Yazoo was the embodiment of Sephiroth's allure and cool, calm demeanor. The remnants traveled the world in hopes of finding Jenova's cells, mistakenly believing that it would reunite them with Jenova herself, but it was, again, Sephiroth manipulating people to achieve his goals. When Kadaj made contact with Jenova's cells, his body reformed into Sephiroth's, and Sephiroth's will took over.
My reunion. Bet you're dying to watch.
Good to see you, Cloud.
Sephiroth lived once more, brought back to life from the contact of his will through Kadaj's geostigma with the cells of Jenova. Sephiroth, reborn. In the ruins of Midgar, Sephiroth once more fought Cloud and revealed his plan. Gather the souls of those killed by geostigma to corrupt the Lifestream so he could control it, then use it to travel the universe and find a new planet to rule.
Sephiroth, what do you want?
The last thoughts of geostigma is dead. Those remnants will join the Lifestream and girdle the planet, choking it, corroding it. What I want, Cloud, is to sail the darkness of the cosmos with this planet as my vessel. Just as my mother did long ago. Then one day we'll find a new planet, and on its soil we'll create a shining future.
They both knew that it would be a fierce fight. One might even say,
"Our battle will be legendary!"
And they launched into a ferocious battle that sent them around and through Midgar, smashing buildings in their way. Sephiroth taunted Cloud as they fought, threatening him with despair.
I've thought of a wonderful present for you. Shall I give you despair?
Finally, Sephiroth cornered Cloud on top of the Shinra HQ building and impaled him through the shoulder. With a wicked smile, Sephiroth taunted him again.
Tell me what you cherish most. Give me the pleasure of taking it away.
In a flash, Cloud rallied, the taunt reminding him of what he was fighting for, who he was fighting for, and with this newfound strength to protect what he cherished, he was able to turn the tide of the battle.
I pity you. You just don't get it at all. There's not a thing I don't cherish.
In one final clash, Sephiroth locked blades with Cloud, and Cloud split his fusion swords to use his Omni-Slash version 5 limit break, shredding through Sephiroth on all sides. Cloud bade Sephiroth a final farewell, only for Sephiroth to depart with one final, chilling claim.
Stay where you belong. In my memories.
I will never be a memory.
With Sephiroth gone, Aerith once more was able to purify the lifestream and make it rain down across the world, cleansing it of geostigma. Sephiroth is, in many ways, a foil for Cloud. While Cloud is defined by hard edges, spiky hair, and the lines of his Buster Sword most notably, Sephiroth is much smoother, long, flowing hair, and his sword is curved as is traditional for a Nodachi. Cloud's character portrait is one of intensity, while Sephiroth's is tired disinterest. Cloud is a walking ball of contradictions, confusion, and self-doubt. Sephiroth is absolutely certain in who and what he is. Cloud was a washout in the soldier program. Sephiroth became the greatest soldier ever. The biggest foil, however, is how they handle their delusions. Cloud, upon realizing that he wasn't actually a soldier, accepted it, made that failing a part of himself, and grew from it. Sephiroth never accepted that Jenova, and he himself by extension, were not actually ancients, and he lost himself in his belief that he was appointed by the ancients to take the planet back. Sephiroth's personality is one of cold and aloof disinterest. Before his madness, he was calm, well-spoken, if not very verbose, and graceful, always professional. After he went mad, he remained cool and composed, but developed a clear messiah complex, thinking he was the one chosen by Jenova to take the planet back from humanity, which also tied into his disdain for humanity as a species. He became cruel, enjoying violence, and enjoyed killing simply for the sadistic pleasure of it. Let's talk about Sephiroth's abilities now. I mentioned earlier that Sephiroth uses his enormous Masamune with one hand, effortlessly cutting down anything in his path, and if we look at the comparison of his stats to Zack's in the Calm flashback, he's stronger than Zack, a soldier first class like Sephiroth himself, by several times. We see in the original game that Sephiroth is strong enough to not only kill a massive serpent, but impale it on a tree, a scene that is expanded upon in Rebirth.
Is it gone?
Even before his descent into the lifestream, Sephiroth was insanely physically strong, incredibly fast, had amazing magical skills, and his swordsmanship was unparalleled. He was able to switch hands quickly and with no loss of precision or power. He can imbue his blade with energy to create waves of magic powerful enough to slash through massive structures. After merging with the lifestream, Sephiroth's magic was nigh limitless, as he was able to cast all manner of spells, from illusions to barriers to incredibly potent offensive abilities, without any tax on himself. Sephiroth's one known limit break, never shown in the original game but revealed in Crisis Core, Advent Children, and again more recently in Rebirth, is Octo Slash, a rapid barrage of very precise strikes to cripple or kill his foe. Sephiroth has a few signature spells, each incredibly powerful. Heartless Angel, Shadow Flare, and of course,
Supernova.
after he merged with the lifestream, he also gained the ability to control Genova's cells, granting manipulation over anyone that has them, such as members of the soldier program, even from great distances. Finally, after his return, he gained a symbol of his fall from grace in the form of a single black wing that he can choose to manifest or dismiss, which seems to grant him increased flight speed.
Is this the pain you felt before, Cloud? Let me remind you, this time you won't forget.
There's been a debate over the years that Sephiroth only lost to Cloud because he underestimated him or wasn't taking him seriously and was just toying with him. I definitely can see some of that argument. Sephiroth is definitely sadistic enough that he enjoys toying with enemies, but Trackazoid on Game FAQs explained it really well. I'll leave it up on screen for a bit so you can pause to read it if you want, but the gist of it is as follows. In their very first encounter, when Cloud was a nameless nobody, yes, Sephiroth underestimated Cloud, but after that, Sephiroth understood that Cloud was a threat and took him seriously. In Advent Children, it's a bit different because nobody was at the same point they were at the end of Final Fantasy VII. Cloud struggles against Sephiroth in Advent Children because he's still doubting himself. That's his whole arc in Advent Children, overcoming his self-doubt for failing to save two people that were important to him, Zack and Aerith. In Advent Children Complete, Zack asks Cloud on a subconscious level whether Cloud needs help, and Cloud turns him down, accepts who he is, and destroys Sephiroth. All of Sephiroth's taunts in Advent Children seem to be personal attacks. There's real anger there because Sephiroth is angry at Cloud's ability to get in his way and stop his plans. It's not Sephiroth dismissing Cloud, but acknowledging him as a threat. Okay, let's talk about Sephiroth's various forms. Of course, we have Sephiroth when he was alive, before his defeat in the Nebel reactor at Cloud's hands. After that, there are the Sephiroth Genova puppets, and then, after attaining the Black Materia, Sephiroth was able to rebuild his body. The black-cloaked men aren't really Sephiroth's forms, they're just pieces of Genova being pulled to the northern cave through the Genova reunion. The final few forms are all endgame bosses. First up is Bizarro Sephiroth, more properly translated from Japanese as Rebirth Sephiroth, as this form is a sort of larval form of Sephiroth's return, and is a conglomeration of parts all acting independently. It has a massive, almost eldritch appearance, and is rather imposing. It almost gives the feeling of a chrysalis, with the real Sephiroth growing inside. Once Bizarro Sephiroth is destroyed, the party fights Safer Sephiroth, the final real battle of the game. This is as close as Sephiroth ever came to truly accomplishing his goal of godhood, and there are various angelic elements to his unsettling Lovecraftian design, such as feathered angel wings and a massive halo behind him. Finally, after the destruction of Safer Sephiroth, Cloud is pulled into the core of the planet itself for one last duel with Sephiroth. This battle is scripted to be impossible to lose. Even if Cloud doesn't attack, he'll survive Sephiroth's attack and automatically retaliate, and this functions more like an interactive cutscene. Okay, let's talk about Sephiroth's name. Where the heck did they come up with the name Sephiroth? Well, Sephiroth is actually a direct reference to Judaism from the ancient Hebrew word Sephiroth. Since that's a little out of my area of expertise, I'm happy to say that I have help from friend of the channel and a longtime personal friend of mine, Aki. Aki is a modern Orthodox Jewish person and has picked up a ton of knowledge from Hasidic friends and teachers.
Hey guys, Aki here, to talk to you about the origins and meaning of the word that Sephiroth's name comes from. We'll start with the etymology and pronunciation. Sephiroth's name comes from the Hebrew word Sephiroth, which is the plural form of the word Sephira. The way you get from that to Sephiroth is the romanization adds the E sound, so you end up with Sephi instead of Svi, and the Japanese turns the O into Ah because of the way that they handle their O sounds. The T versus TH is actually a linguistic differentiation from regional dialects. When looking at etymological origins for the word Sephiroth, there are a few Hebrew words it could be related to. Sefer is the Hebrew word for book. There's also an old Hebrew word that usually gets translated as counting, but is more accurately translated as in counting or enumeration that is pronounced similar to Sphira. The 10 Sphirot is a concept in Jewish mysticism of the 10 aspects of God we can connect with, that we can know. The idea is that in the Abrahamic faith, God is a vast existence that's alien to our own. So we cannot know all of God. The Sphirot are 10 aspects, characteristics, and nodes of God that connect us to the realm of the divine, the intermediary between the physical world and the highest of the spiritual world. The 10 Sphirot are Keter, the aspect of crown, Chokhmah, the aspect of wisdom, Bina, the aspect of knowing, Chesed, the aspect of kindness, Gevura, the aspect of greatness or discipline, Teferet, the aspect of glory, Netzach, the aspect of victory, Hod, the aspect of splendor, Yisod, the aspect of foundation, and Malchut, the aspect of kingship or the kingdom. These are the 10 relational elements regulating the spiritual flow between us and the divine that help bridge the gap between the mundane and the holy. It's not uncommon to see these arranged in particular formations that are common in depictions of Jewish mysticism, the most common of which is the Tree of Life, which shows the flow and interrelational energy between these concepts. It also includes a sort of 11th node, the aspect of Das, of understanding, which sort of acts as a central node, an anchor point between them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into the specifics. Keter, the aspect of crown. This is the one that's furthest away from us. That is most part of the divine and away from our comprehension, our world. It is thought of as the concept of faith and is seen as a force of delight within ourselves and an expression of will outside of ourselves. Chokhmah is the aspect of insight or wisdom, that instinctive understanding, the moment we grasp an idea and innate comprehension. Bina is the aspect of knowing, when information moves from the external to internal, when it becomes ours. The relationship between these three kinds of knowing, Chokhmah, Bina, and Das. Das is understanding, the central connecting node. The relationship is very complex. But trying to put it in the simplest context, Chokhmah is the instinctive understanding. When you get an impression of something, like when you see someone perform a skill like smithing for the first time, and you grasp the very basics, heating, beating, cooling, the dangers of it. It comes with wisdom and insight, but not understanding. The Bina of smithing would be the knowing of it, knowing the techniques, the process, how to heat and cool the iron, how to beat it into the shape that you want. It moves from the conceptual and feeling into the practical and informational. Da'as is understanding when you truly know something, when you can interact with it without the need to consult outside sources or the effort of working through it, when it becomes part of you. In the smithing metaphor, this is when you gain expertise, when you don't need to keep checking the clock to know when to pull something out of the fire, when you can tell by looking when it's time to cool. Chesed, the aspect of kindness. It's generosity, the giving of oneself, the basic love and affection that leads to us wanting to enrich others. Gevura, the aspect of might or severity, of strength. This relates back to the concept of mystic awe, being impacted by the realization of the enormity of God, the influential power of God's strength, not in how it can be used, but in how the understanding influences you. And in that way, it embodies the characteristic of discipline. Tiferet is the aspect of glory, the recognition of the positive influence of God's presence, where Gevura is the recognition of strength that disciplines us, that holds our actions in check. Tiferet is the recognition of divine beauty, the awe of God's majesty that inspires us. Netzach is the aspect of victory. This is a very abstract concept and is hard to understand with the limits of this translation. Netzach is the recognition of God's ability to overcome, and in a way, of our own ability to overcome, to go beyond. Where Gevura is from a higher level of spirituality. This is more grounded in our world. The way to influence the world. Confidence, assurance, the inevitability of God's success. Hod is the aspect of splendor. This is related to Tiferet in the same way that Gevura is related to Netzach. It's more about the impact of God's grace. It is related to sincerity, gratitude, purity, in the way that something that is completely itself is pure. Yesod is the aspect of foundation. It is the most grounded of the higher spiritual concepts. It filters the rest of them into Malchus. It's the aspect of truth, of consistency, of that which is unchanging and assured, stable. Malchus is the aspect of kingship or the kingdom, because one cannot exist without the other. This is us. This is the world, the domain of the physical. It's the aspect of God that is present here, the divine presence and spirituality that is of this world. Those are the 10 Sephiroth.
Thanks for that insight, Aki, and thanks for being the first guest speaker on the channel. Sephiroth sees himself as a manifestation of destiny, fate personified, and believes that he has been chosen to become a god, which is perhaps why the name was chosen. Sephiroth believes that he is a manifestation of divinity, and he sees himself as something approximating the Sephiroth. Okay, let's talk about Sephiroth's musical themes. He's got a few, but I'll cover the three most prominent. His theme throughout the majority of the game, including his madness in Nibelheim, is those chosen by the planet. It's full of ominous bells and drums styled to sound like a heartbeat, alluding to the fear Sephiroth instills. Next is Birth of a God, which plays during the Bizarro Sephiroth fight. It's much faster than those chosen by the planet and seems to quiver with excitement, building up the hype of the battle. Finally, no video on Sephiroth is complete without discussing his most famous theme, and honestly, one of the most famous video game themes ever made. That's right, we're talking about One-Winged Angel. Even if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, and if you haven't, what are you doing? Go play it. I'll wait. Okay, even if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, you almost certainly have heard this incredible song somewhere. One-Winged Angel plays during the battle against Safer Sephiroth, and is a powerful and imposing ballad with a massive orchestra's worth of instruments. It's notably the first song in the franchise to actually have lyrics. These lyrics are in Latin, and many are directly borrowed from iconic music and poems, such as O Fortuna from Carmina Burana by Karl Orff. There have been quite a few reworks of the song throughout its nearly 30-year history, most with slightly different Latin lyrics. Advent Children had a different version, as did Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and the song has become synonymous not only with Sephiroth himself as a character, but with the franchise as a whole. Ironically, its creator, the ever-fantastic Nobuo Uematsu, was actually surprised by how much of a reception the song got. He even refers to it as experimental. Sephiroth, being one of Final Fantasy's most iconic characters, has made countless appearances in other games in the franchise and beyond. He's a playable character in Dissidia, a fighting game, an optional super boss in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, a DLC fighter in Smash Ultimate, and is mentioned in countless other games. Sephiroth is massively popular, and it's easy to see why. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Sephiroth. I love his design, his execution, how he feels like an omnipresent threat, how he's almost always calm and in control, but I hate his actions. We've discussed in another video how Aerith is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. Sephiroth's visual design is, for me at least, one of the greatest of any villain ever, standing shoulder to shoulder with imposing figures like Madara Uchiha from Naruto, Sasuke Aizen from Bleach, and the best villains of Star Wars, from Vader to Maul to Traya to Nihilus, and more. And with that, we come to a close on the Examining Character series. There's a full playlist if you want to rewatch them all. Next week, we'll be moving on to a 7-part series covering magic and materia in Final Fantasy VII. I plan to release those 7 videos every other day, but please don't hold me to it if I can't. It's a lot of work to get these videos together. I'm just one person. I don't have a whole team or anything. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you just watched, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting. It all helps out enormously. There's a new video every week too, and sometimes even bonus videos throughout the week. By subscribing, you not only get notified as soon as my videos go up, but you get the chance to see posts, pictures, polls, and news before anyone else. It even lets you help influence the channel by helping to suggest the kinds of content I cover here on Fan-Fueled Fiction. Even if you think you're subscribed, take a second to go check. YouTube has this weird habit of unsubscribing people. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.